Taiho spent most of that time learning. Princess Lyra sat with him in a room made of soft light and taught him about her people. The walls of the ship changed colors as she spoke, as if the vessel itself was listening to her stories. The Irani were ancient. They had existed for millions of years, long before humans had learned to make fire. Their cities floated among the clouds. Their art could make you cry with a single glance. Their music could heal wounds and calm storms, but they had never known war. "We stopped fighting each other long ago," Lyra explained. "We found peace. True peace. For 1,000 generations, no Irani has raised a hand against another." "That sounds beautiful," Taiho said. "It was until the plague came." The plague had appeared 1 year ago. Nobody knew where it came from. It spread fast, killing thousands in the first week. The Irani doctors tried everything, but nothing worked. Their medicines, their machines, their prayers, all of it failed. "We do not understand sickness the way you do," Lyra said. Her voice was sad. "We have not been sick for so long. Our bodies forgot how to fight." Taiho thought about this. On Earth, humans got sick all the time. Colds, fevers, infections. The human body was always fighting something. It was annoying, but it kept them strong. It trained their immune systems like soldiers for battle. The Irani had no such training. Their perfect health had become their weakness. On the third day, the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Taiho looked through the window and forgot how to breathe. Irani. Prime was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. The planet glowed with soft colors, pink and gold and silver and blue. Great rings of crystal dust circled around it like jewelry. Floating islands drifted through the upper atmosphere, connected by bridges of light. Everything sparkled. Everything shined. "It looks like a dream," Taiho whispered. It was Lyra said. "Now, it is becoming a nightmare." As the ship descended, Taiho began to see the truth. The beautiful cities were half empty. The gardens were dying. Black marks spread across the crystal towers like rot-on fruit. The air, Lyra told him, now carried the smell of death. They landed in the capital city. On a platform outside the royal palace, guards with silver armor and sad eyes escorted them inside. The palace was enormous. The ceilings rose so high that Taiho could not see the top. The walls were covered with art that moved and changed as he walked past. But there was no joy here, only silence and fear. They entered the throne room. Empress Velith sat on a throne made of living crystal. She was taller than Lyra, older and more powerful. Her silver skin had once been bright, but now it was dull. Black veins crawled up her neck and across her face. She was sick. She was dying, but her eyes still burned with strength. Beside her stood an old Irani with a hard face. His name, Taiho would learn, was Elder Korin. He looked at Taiho the way someone looks at dirt on their shoe. "So this is the human," the Empress said. Her voice was weak but sharp. "This is what my daughter has brought to save us." Taiho bowed his head. "Your Majesty, you're small. You are young. Your species lives for less than 100 years. You fight wars over nothing. You destroy your own planet." The Empress leaned forward. "And yet my daughter believes you can save us. Tell me why I should not send you back to the darkness you came from." Taiho felt the weight of her words. He felt the eyes of everyone in the room pressing down on him. He wanted to run. He wanted to hide. But he thought about the children in Lyra's vision, the ones crying for their mothers, and he found his voice. "Your Majesty, I am not a scientist. I am not a hero. I am just a man who fixes broken things." He looked up at her. "But my people have been broken many times. We have faced plagues that killed half our population. We have faced wars that burned our cities to ash. We have faced darkness that seemed endless, and every time we found a way to survive." Elder Korin made a sound of disgust. Pretty words from a primitive creature. Taiho ignored him. "I do not know if I can save your people, but I know that giving up means death, and humans do not give up. We do not know how." The throne room was silent. The Empress stared at him for a long time. Then, slowly, she nodded. You have 30 days, human. If you cannot stop this plague, we will all be dead anyway. She turned to her guards. Give him access to everything. Our libraries. Our laboratories. Our sick, your majesty? Elder Corrin stepped forward. This is madness. A human cannot enough Corrin. The Empress raised her hand. I am dying. My people are dying. I will try anything. She looked at Taiho one last time. Do not make me regret this. Taiho bowed again. I will do everything I can. That night, Taiho set up a communication link to Helio 7. The signal was weak and slow, but it worked. Sami's face appeared on the screen. Fuzzy, but real. Taiho. Are you okay? What is happening? I am alive. The planet is beautiful. But the people are dying, Somi. There is a plague here, and they cannot stop it. What can you do? You are a mechanic, not a doctor. I know. But I have to try. He paused. I need your help. Can you access Earth's medical databases? Historical records of plagues. Anything that might help? I can try. It will take time. We do not have much time. But anything helps. Somi nodded. Be careful, Taiho. You are very far from home. Taiho smiled. I know. But maybe that is where I am supposed to be. He ended the call and walked to the window. Outside, the aurora danced across the sky in colors he had no names for. Somewhere in the city below, people were dying. Children were crying. A whole civilization was fading away. 30 days. He had 30 days to save them. Taiho had never felt so scared in his life, but he had also never felt so determined. He thought about his sister, about her smile, about the promise he had made at her grave. I will keep going, he whispered to himself. No matter what. And he meant it. For 2 weeks, Taiho worked without rest. The Irani scientists did not trust him. They watched him with cold eyes as he walked through their laboratories. They answered his questions with short words and long silences. To them, he was a primitive creature from a violent world. What could he possibly know about saving lives? But Taiho did not let their doubts stop him. He studied the plague. He read their medical records. He visited the hospitals where the sick lay dying. Every day, he learned more. Every night, he talked to Somi, sharing information, asking questions, searching for answers. The Irani approach to medicine was elegant. They used light and sound and energy to heal. Their machines were beautiful and precise. But against this plague, they were useless. The disease was too fast, too clever, too hungry. Taiho noticed something strange after the first week. Not everyone died at the same speed. Most patients lasted only a few days after the black veins appeared. But some lasted weeks. A few were still alive after months. The Irani doctors did not understand why. They called it random chance. Taiho did not believe in random chance. He started visiting the survivors. He talked to them. He learned their stories. And slowly, a pattern began to appear. There was an old artist named Shira who had lost her entire family in an accident years ago. She was still alive. There was a young worker named June who had been badly hurt in a construction accident. He had spent years learning to walk again. He was still alive. There was a child named Mika who had been born with a defect in her heart. The doctors had said she would not live past her first year. She was now 12 and she was still alive. The survivors were not random. They had one thing in common. They had all suffered. Taiho sat in the hospital garden, thinking hard. The Irani around him moved like ghosts, quiet and tired and hopeless. They accepted the plague like they accepted the sunrise, as something that simply happened, something they could not change. And suddenly, Taiho understood. The plague did not just attack bodies. It attacked spirits. The Irani had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to struggle. When the plague came, when the pain came, many of them simply gave up. Their bodies followed their spirits into darkness. But the survivors, the ones who had known pain before, who had learned to fight through it, they had something the others did not. They had strength that came from suffering. They had the will to keep going when everything told them to stop. Taiho ran to the palace. He burst into the council chamber where Empress Velith and her advisors were meeting. Everyone turned to stare at him. "I know why some people survive," he said, breathing hard. "It is not about medicine. It is about the mind, about the spirit." Elder Corrin stood up, his face angry. "You dare interrupt?" "Let him speak," the Empress said. She looked worse than before. The black veins had reached her eyes. Taiho stepped forward. "Your people have forgotten how to fight. You have lived in peace for so long that you do not know how to face pain. When the plague comes, many of you simply accept it. You let go." "That is nonsense," Corrin said. "We want to live. Everyone wants to live. Wanting is not enough. You must fight for it. You must be stubborn. You must refuse to die, even when death seems easier." Taiho looked at the Empress. "The survivors, I have studied all of them, knew pain before the plague. They had already learned to keep going when everything was against them. That is why they are still alive." The room was silent. The Irani looked at each other with confusion and doubt. Princess Lyra stood up. "I believe him." "Of course you do," Corrin said. "You brought this creature here." "I brought him here because I saw what his people have done." Lyra walked to the center of the room. "I have studied human history. They have faced plagues that killed half their population. They have faced wars that lasted generations. They have faced disasters that should have ended them. But they never stopped fighting. They never gave up." She turned to face the council. "Maybe we have forgotten how to suffer. And in forgetting, we have forgotten how to survive." The Empress closed her eyes. For a long moment, she was silent. Then she spoke. "What do you need, human?" Taiho felt hope rise in his chest. "Let me work with the terminal patients. Not with medicine, with stories. Let me teach them how to fight." Corrin laughed. "Stories. You want to cure a plague with stories? I want to give them a reason to keep living. The medicine can help their bodies, but someone needs to help their spirits." The Empress nodded slowly. "Do it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain." Taiho began that same day. He sat beside the bed of an old scholar named Hyun. The black veins covered most of his body. He had stopped eating. He had stopped talking. He was waiting to die. Taiho did not give him medicine. He gave him words. He told him about the Black Death that killed millions of humans 600 years ago. He told him about the survivors who rebuilt cities from ashes. He told him about doctors who worked until they dropped. About families who never stopped hoping. About people who found reasons to smile even in the darkest times. He told him about his sister. About her smile. About the way she laughed at his jokes, even when they were not funny. About the last thing she said to him before she died. "Keep going, little brother. Promise me." By the end of the story, Hyun was crying. Silver tears rolled down his cheeks. It was the first emotion he had shown in days. "I had a sister too," Han whispered. "She died long ago. I miss her." "Tell me about her," Taiho said. Hyun talked for 3 hours. He talked about his sister, his childhood, his dreams, his regrets. He talked about everything he had been holding inside. The next morning, Hyun asked for food. A week later, the black veins began to fade. It was not a cure, but it was proof. Proof that the human way, the stubborn, messy, painful human way could work. And for the first time, the Irani began to believe. Word spread quickly through the dying cities. A human was healing people with nothing but words. He sat with the sick and told them stories. He listened to their fears and their memories. He taught them to fight, not with weapons, but with will, and it was working. Taiho trained other volunteers to do the same. Young Irani, who had watched their families die now, sat beside strangers and held their hands. They shared stories of human survival, plagues overcome, wars ended, disasters survived. They reminded the dying that giving up was a choice, and that there was another choice to keep going. The plague still spread. People still died, but more and more began to recover. The hospitals, which had been filled only with waiting death, now had something they had not seen in months. Hope, Empress Velith, grew stronger. The black veins on her face stopped spreading. Color returned to her silver skin. She began to walk the palace halls again, something she had not done in weeks. "You have given us a gift," she told Taiho one evening. "Something we did not know we needed." Taiho shook his head. "I only reminded you of something you already had. The strength was always there. It was just sleeping." But not everyone was happy with the changes. Elder Korin watched from the shadows. He saw the humans' influence spreading through Irani society like a different kind of plague. He heard people speaking of struggle and fighting and refusing to die. These were human ideas. Violent ideas. They did not belong here. He called secret meetings with other council members who shared his fears. "The human is changing us," he warned them. "Soon we will be no different from his savage kind. We will forget who we are." Some agreed with him. Some did not. But Korin did not need everyone. He only needed enough. Taiho was too busy to notice the danger growing around him. He worked day and night, barely sleeping, barely eating. Somi sent him more information from Earth stories of human resilience, medical research, anything that might help. He used it all then. One morning, disaster struck. Hyun, old scholar, who had been Taiho's first success, collapsed in the garden. The black veins, which had almost disappeared, exploded across his body in seconds. He screamed in pain. By the time the doctors reached him, he was dead. Then another patient relapsed. And another. And another. In 1 hour, everything Taiho had built began to crumble. He ran to the laboratory searching for answers. The Irani scientists looked at him with cold eyes. "Your human methods have failed," one of them said. "The plague has changed. It is stronger now. Changed." Taiho stared at the data on the screens. Plagues do not change this fast. Not naturally. Korin appeared at the door surrounded by guards. "The council has made a decision. Your experiment is over, human." "What?" "No, I need more time. I need to understand what is happening." "What is happening is clear. Your interference has made the plague worse." Korin stepped closer, his 4 eyes filled with triumph. "The council has voted. You will be executed at dawn." "This is insane. I did not make the plague worse. Something else is happening here. Take him to the cells." The guards grabbed Taiho's arms. He struggled, but they were too strong. Princess Lyra ran into the room, shouting for them to stop, but Korin blocked her path. "Your pet human has failed, Princess. It is time to accept the truth." In the cold darkness of his cell, Taiho sat with his head in his hands. He had been so close. So close to saving them. What had gone wrong? His communication device buzzed. Sami's face appeared, pale and urgent. "Taiho, I found something. Something terrible." "What is it?" "I analyzed the genetic code of the plague you sent me. There is a signature hidden inside it. A marker that should not exist in any natural disease." Taiho felt his blood go cold. What kind of marker? A human marker. "Taiho, this plague was engineered, and part of the technology used to create it came from human space." The words hit him like a punch to the stomach. Humans created this plague. Not all humans, but someone did. Someone sold this weapon to enemies of the Irani. Swami's voice was shaking. "There's more. The reason the plague suddenly got worse, Sai found a signal in the data. Someone is controlling it remotely. Someone is adjusting it, making it stronger, making it change." "Where is the signal coming from?" "A moon. One of the moons of Irani Prime. There is a hidden base there." Taiho stood up. His hands were trembling, but his mind was clear. "I need to tell the Empress." "How?" "You are locked in a cell." Before Taiho could answer, the cell door opened. Princess Lyra stood in the doorway, a stolen key in her hand. "I heard everything," she said. "The walls here are thin. Lyra, you should not be here. Korin will. Korin is a fool, and I am not afraid of him."
What?
She grabbed his hand. "Come. My mother needs to hear this." They ran through the palace corridors, avoiding guards, hiding in shadows. When they burst into the throne room, Empress Velith was alone. sitting by a window, looking out at her dying world. "Human," she said, without turning. "I was told you would be executed in the morning, Your Majesty. The plague is not natural. It was created, and someone is controlling it from a base on your moon." The Empress turned slowly. "What proof do you have?" Taiho showed her Sami's data. He explained everything: the human marker, the control signal, the sudden mutation. Velith listened in silence. When he finished, her eyes burned with cold fire. "My people are dying because of a weapon," she said. "A weapon created by humans and controlled by traitors?" "Yes, and I am sorry. My species did this. But I swear to you, I did not know. And I will make it right." "How?" "The control signal. If we can destroy the base, we can stop the plague from changing. Your people can fight it. They have the strength now. I have seen it." Velith stood. Despite her illness, despite the black veins still marking her skin, she looked like a queen again. "She looked like a warrior. Corin spoke against you. He wanted you dead." She paused. Now I wonder if he knew more than he admitted. Guards were summoned. Corin was brought before the throne in chains. He denied everything, but his eyes told a different story. His eyes told the truth. "You will answer for your crimes," Velith said. "But first, we have a war to win." She turned to Taiho. "Human, you said you would make this right. Will you lead us to this base?" Taiho thought about everything he had lost. His sister, his home, his quiet life. Then he thought about everything he had found. Purpose, hope, people worth fighting for. "Yes," he said. "I will." The moon hung in the sky like a pale eye, watching the dying world below. Taiho stood in the palace war room, looking at maps and data that floated in the air like ghosts. The hidden base was buried deep inside the moon's surface. It was well protected. It was well hidden. And it was controlled by people who wanted the Irani to die. "We have no army, Empress," Velith said. "We have not had soldiers for 1,000 years. Our weapons are ceremonial. Our people have never known battle, and we will teach them," Taiho said. "Not to become warriors. Just to survive long enough to end this." He looked around the room. A small group of Irani had volunteered for the mission, survivors of the plague, who now carried something new inside them. They had learned to fight through pain. They had learned to refuse death. They were not soldiers, but they were no longer helpless. Princess Lyra stood among them. "You should not come," Taiho told her. "You are the princess. Your people need you. My people need hope. And hope is on that moon." Lyra lifted her chin. "I am coming." Taiho knew better than to argue. For 3 days he trained the volunteers. He taught them basic combat. He taught them how to move quietly, how to work together, how to keep going when their bodies wanted to stop. It was not enough time. It was not enough training, but it was all they had. On the 4th day, they flew to the moon. The ship was small and fast. It slipped through the darkness without lights, without signals, like a shadow moving through deeper shadows. Inside, the volunteers sat in silence. Their silver faces were calm, but Taiho could see fear in their eyes. He felt the same fear in his own heart. When humans face battle, he told them, "We feel fear. Every time. It never goes away. But we have learned that fear does not mean weakness. Fear means you understand the danger. What matters is what you do with that fear. Do you let it stop you? Or do you use it to push forward?" The volunteers listened. Some nodded. Some closed their eyes and seemed to pray. The ship landed in a crater far from the base. They would have to walk the rest of the way through tunnels that Somi had found in old mining records. The journey took hours. The tunnels were dark and cold and tight. Several times, they heard sounds of movement nearby, guards or machines. Patrolling, and they had to freeze and wait in silence. Taiho's body ached. His wounds from previous days had not fully healed. His lungs burned from breathing the thin air. But he kept moving. One step after another. One breath after another. That was the human way. That was the only way he knew. They reached the base just before dawn. The entrance was guarded by 2 Irani traders in dark armor. Taiho signaled his team. They moved like shadows, quiet and quick. The guards fell before they could raise an alarm. Inside, the base was cold and sterile. Metal walls, humming machines, the smell of chemicals and death. They split into two groups. Lyra led one team to free the prisoners they had detected in the lower levels. Orani scientists who had been kidnapped and forced to work on the plague. Taiho led the other team to the control room. The deeper they went, the more guards they encountered. Fighting broke out in the corridors. Orani volunteers, who had never held weapons now, fought for their lives and for their world. Some fell. Some kept going. All of them were brave. Taiho reached the control room door. It was locked with a code he did not know, but Somi had prepared for this. She had sent him a device that could break through any human-made security system. The door opened. Inside, a single human sat at a console surrounded by screens. He was older than Taiho, with gray hair and cold eyes. He wore a fine suit and an expression of perfect calm. "Ah," the man said. "The hero arrives. Who are you?" "Director Han. I created the plague you have been fighting against. Beautiful work, is it not?" Taiho felt rage burn in his chest. "You killed millions, children, families, an entire civilization. I made a business deal." Han shrugged. "The Orani have resources. Their enemies wanted those resources. They paid me to create a weapon that could clear the way. Simple economics. You are a monster. I am a businessman. And you are a traitor." Han stood up. "You chose aliens over your own kind? You should be helping humanity expand, not protecting creatures who will be forgotten in 1,000 years." Taiho stepped forward. "Humanity does not expand by killing innocents. We are better than that, are we?" Han laughed. "Look at your history. War after war. Genocide after genocide. Humans have always destroyed what stands in their way. I am just more honest about it. You are wrong." Taiho raised his weapon. "The same history that shows our darkness also shows our light. We have fallen, yes, but we have also risen. We have hurt, but we have also healed. That is what makes us the enduring ones. Not that we are perfect, but that we keep trying to be better." Han reached for a button on his console. "If I cannot profit from this, no one will. This button will release a final mutation of the plague. Everyone on Orani Prime will be dead within a day." "No." Taiho moved faster than he had ever moved in his life. His body screamed with pain, but he did not stop. He crashed into Han, knocking him away from the console. They fell together, struggling on the floor. Han was older, but he was desperate. He fought like a wild animal. His fingers clawed at Taiho's face. His teeth bit into Taiho's arm. Taiho felt his strength fading. His wounds were bleeding again. His vision was going dark. Then he thought of his sister. He thought of her smile. He thought of her voice saying, "Keep going, little brother. Promise me." Promised. With a final burst of strength, Taiho threw Han across the room. He crawled to the console and began destroying the controls. Sparks flew. Machines screamed. The screens went dark, one by one. When it was done, Taiho collapsed on the floor. Breathing hard, Han lay against the wall, broken and defeated. Guards came and took him away. He would face justice, human justice, and Orani justice both. Lyra found Taiho in the control room. She knelt beside him, silver tears in her eyes. "You did it," she whispered. "The signal is dead. The plague will stop changing." "Your people," Taiho said. His voice was weak. "They can fight it now. They know how. Yes, because of you." 1 month later, Taiho stood in the great hall of the palace. The plague was fading. With the control signal destroyed, the disease had stopped mutating. The Orani, armed with the will to fight, were winning their battle. Every day, more patients recovered. Every day, more black veins disappeared. The crystal cities were coming back to life. Empress Velith stood before her people, strong and whole. The black veins were gone from her skin. Her eyes shone with pride and gratitude. Today we honor a human, she said. A mechanic from a distant world who came to us when we needed help most. He gave us more than medicine. He gave us the courage to survive. She turned to Taiho. Kong Taiho, I name you brother of the Irani, the first human to ever receive this honor. From this day forward, your name will be remembered in our songs, our stories, our hearts. The crowd cheered. The sound was like music, 1,000 voices raised in gratitude and hope. Taiho felt tears in his eyes. For so long, he had felt lost. For so long, he had wondered what his life was for. Now he knew. After the ceremony, Lyra found him in the palace garden. The aurora danced overhead, painting the sky with colors that had no names. Will you stay? She asked. Taiho looked at the beautiful world around him. He thought about Earth, about the mining station, about the life he had left behind. Then he thought about everything he had found here. For a while, he said, someone has to teach you all how to be stubborn. Lyra laughed. It was a bright sound full of life. In the distance, children played among the crystal flowers. Their silver skin was unmarked. Their eyes were filled with joy. They did not remember the plague. They would only know the stories of darkness and light, of death and survival, of a human who crossed the stars to save a world. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but humanity was no longer alone. They had friends now. They had allies. They had proven that their greatest gift was not strength or technology or intelligence. It was the refusal to give up. Taiho watched the children play and smiled. His sister would have been proud. In room, the night shift was always quiet. Most of the crew slept while he fixed broken pipes and old machines. He liked it this way. The silence gave him peace. The work kept his hands busy and his mind empty. Taiho was 32 years old. He had strong hands and tired eyes. Once, he had been a military engineer. Now, he was just a mechanic on a station that nobody cared about. He had no family waiting for him back home. His parents were gone. His sister had died in an accident 5 years ago. He still remembered her face every night before he slept. He tightened a bolt on a steam pipe and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Another long night, another quiet shift. Then the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across every wall. The station shook hard. Taiho grabbed the railing to stop himself from falling. He had felt earthquakes before, but this was different. This felt like something had grabbed the station and squeezed it. He ran to the main corridor. Other crew members were running too, still half asleep, still confused. Park Somi, the communications officer, grabbed his arm. Taiho. Something appeared outside. Something big. What do you mean, appeared? It just came out of nowhere. Like a ghost. They ran to the observation deck together. Through the thick glass window, Taiho saw it. A ship. But not like any ship he had ever seen. It was alive. That was the only word that made sense. The ship looked like it was made of light and water and something that breathed. It glowed with soft blue and purple colors. It had no sharp edges, no metal plates, no engines that he could see. It simply floated there, beautiful and terrifying.
Oh, what is that thing?
Someone whispered. Nobody answered. Nobody knew. Then, without warning, a bright light filled the cargo bay below them. The crew ran down the stairs, some carrying weapons. Some carrying nothing but fear. Taiho pushed through the crowd and stopped. A figure stood in the middle of the cargo bay. She was not human. Her skin was silver, like moonlight made solid. She was tall and thin, with arms that seemed too long and fingers that seemed too many. She had 4 eyes, all of them large and dark and filled with something that looked like sadness. She wore robes that moved like smoke around her body. She was young. Even though she was alien, Taiho could tell she was young. Maybe a teenager in human years, and she was scared. Security officers pointed their guns at her. Their hands were shaking. The alien girl did not look at them. Her 4 eyes moved across the room, searching, hunting for something. Then they stopped. On Taeho, she walked toward him. The security officer shouted at her to stop. She ignored them. She walked past the guns, past the angry faces, past everything, until she stood right in front of him. Taeho did not move. He could not move. Her eyes held him in place. "Human," she said. Her voice was strange. It sounded like one voice and many voices at the same time. It echoed inside his head like music. "Human," she said again. "My mother needs you to save our world." The cargo bay went silent. Everyone stared at Taeho. He stared at the alien girl. "I think you have the wrong person," he said. "No. I searched across the stars. I felt your pain, your loss, your strength. You are the one. I am a mechanic. I fix broken machines. I cannot save anyone." The girl reached out her hand. Her fingers touched his forehead. And suddenly, Taeho saw everything. He saw a world of crystal cities and floating gardens. He saw silver-skinned people dancing under skies of endless color. He saw beauty that made his heart ache. Then he saw death. He saw the same silver people lying on the ground, their skin covered with black veins. He saw children crying for mothers who would never wake up. He saw empty streets and silent gardens and a whole world dying. The vision ended. Taeho fell to his knees, breathing hard. "The plague is killing us," the girl said. Her voice was breaking now. She sounded like a child asking for help. "Our doctors cannot stop it. Our machines cannot cure it. We are dying, human. All of us." "Why me?" Taeho whispered. "Why not someone important? A scientist? A leader? Because we do not need science. We need something else." She knelt down in front of him. "We have watched your species for a long time. We have seen you suffer. We have seen you fall. But we have also seen you stand up again. Every time. No matter what happens. You refuse to die." She took his hand in hers. Her skin was cold, but soft. "My people have forgotten how to fight. We have lived in peace for too long. We do not know how to struggle, but you do. Your kind has struggled since the beginning. That is why we call you the enduring ones." Taeho looked into her 4 eyes. He saw hope there. Desperate, fragile hope. He thought about his sister. He thought about the day she died and how he could not save her. He thought about all the nights he had wished for a second chance to help someone, to matter, to make a difference. "What is your name?" he asked. "I am Lyra, princess of the Irani people." Daughter of Empress Velith, Princess Lyra stood up slowly. His legs were still weak from the vision. "I am not a hero. I am not special. But if there is any chance I can help, I will try," Lyra smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "That is all we ask, Kong Taeho, that you try." She turned to face the stunned crew of Helios 7. "I must take this human with me. Time is short. Every moment we wait, more of my people die." Somi stepped forward. "Taeho, you cannot just leave with an alien. This is crazy." Taeho looked at his friend. "Maybe, but I have spent 5 years doing nothing that matters. Maybe it is time to do something crazy." He followed Princess Lyra toward the light. Behind him, the crew watched in silence. Ahead of him, a dying world waited, and for the first time in 5 years, Kong Taeho felt alive.